and Bernanke is working very, very hard to liquidate debt through the inflationary process. Our Federal Reserve, because we still have a dollar that people will accept, our Federal Reserve stands ready to use currency swaps. They've been involved before, and they'll be involved again, and they've assured the world that they will be there if needed.
Right.
All right, so stick around and I'll explain that. Let me explain that the globalist bankers, the cabal, have absolutely no interest in Europe whatsoever. Europe does not represent a significant force to be trifled with. Everything that they're concerned about has to do with America and controlling and manipulating the American people, because America essentially has a system which would, if not for their corruption of it, which would otherwise absolutely destroy them. And so Ron Paul is actually enormously centric to what is going on right now, because Ron Paul has essentially shaken the faith in the US dollar, shaken the faith in the idea of banking. And he is about to take a spotlight probably because of what the supporters will be doing in August. They are enormously afraid of that, and not only that, but that's actually primary. Secondary to that is the fact that there's a U.S. election coming up, and they really want to kind of satiate the people in order to get them to re-elect Obama. Now, it's very simple to point at the 2004 election, wherein they had the standing puppet president. The other president, probably a puppet, Kerry, was going up against Bush, and Kerry was a flip-flopper. He was like a flip-flopper extraordinaire. Nobody could take him seriously, and they didn't care when he lost. And Romney is playing that role. And what did we also see right before the election? There was a substantial drop. Even though the gas prices were enormous, there was a substantial drop in gas prices just before the election. There was an attempt to satiate the American people, to make them think that the standing establishment is in fact doing something right. So what I'm actually expecting as a result, what they're basically doing is they're trying to up the value of the American dollar. And now what I'm about to show you is Ron Paul's latest interview on CNBC, where he basically confirms that there will be a massive lack of confidence in the euro, believing it to inflate as a result of the Greek bailouts, which are likely to occur soon. And that's not to say that those things even occur, right? There won't be a literal bailout. I'll explain that in a second. And there won't be a result, an inflation of the currency either. It will be sort of similar to what occurred in America, wherein it was said that there were bailouts, and really it did in fact occur. But what is actually occurring is that they are looking for excuses to manipulate people, right? So the bailouts are actually we didn't see a dime of the bailouts. Those went straight to the bankers. That money was just an excuse for, hey, we've got a lot of money. We can go and we can buy things up, and we can corporatize and centralize things. That's exactly what's going to happen in Greece. They do not care about the Greeks. The Greeks are about to they're going to exert very few resources in trying to make sure that the Greeks are even happy. All that they're doing with this is they're trying to up the value of the dollar. In fact, that may even well, see, now that's there's going to be some blowback there, because if they prove that bailouts crash economies, which they will sort of be doing as a result of because people are too stupid. They're not going to understand that the U.S. dollar and the euro are exactly the same thing. The result of central banking basically calling paper money. Money. You know what? I'm going to put up a picture of the really just the hubris of these people, that they color-coded the recent U.S. dollar bills to match the monopoly bills. the fact of the matter is they're going to up the value of the dollar. We're about to see a very massive drop in price of gas. Gas is going to drop down in price, and they're all going to point not to, because back in 2004, it was almost like they were implying we were sort of, the drop in price was coming from the war somehow. But this time, they're going to call the drop in price the result of the devaluing of the euro in comparison to the dollar. Okay. Now, a lot of investors are going to go switch their currency from the euro to the dollar, and they're going to do so rightly because of the fact that they're expecting the euro to tank. Why is this occurring? First, they want it to occur because by increasing the value of the dollar, making things a little easier for Americans, they're going to help ease the American public into becoming more confident in the Federal Reserve, which is taking a huge hit from the Liberty Movement and from Ron Paul, which is why it is extremely important that at Tampa, not only do we try our best to actually win that election somehow, which I'm not really actually, doubting that that's possible. I'm just saying that they're gonna really pull some shady shit over there. They're gonna strong arm us as hard as they can. But not only that, but there's going to be a heightened interest on Tampa if a big show happens. If the Ron Paul supporters really sort of make headline news, even when they don't want the Ron Paul supporters to make headline news. But then it will make a big time internet news. The more vibrant the display there, the more the dollar is essentially devalued, and that's actually a good thing because you really want you do not want these bailouts. You really actually want these measures against the centralization and central banking to occur. Okay, so so that's actually what's really going on here. What's really going on, and let me go ahead and play the Ron Paul clips.
Anticipate will be the reaction of central bankers around the world?
Well, they're going to continue to do what the only thing they know what to do, and that is inflate. Inflate means inflate the currency, create more money, more credit, which devalues the currency.
All right, Ron Paul confirms that there will be a devaluing of the euro as a result of the Greek bailouts. Now listen what he says about Congress's intervention in the Federal Reserve.
Let me switch gears on you a little bit and talk about the United States. From the Senate Finance Committee, that they may have some breaks or I should say some compromises ready to go to get the U.S. past the fiscal cliff. What do you think about that?
I don't know the details of that, but I wouldn't be very optimistic about it because from my viewpoint of having watched Congress for a long time and hearing this discussion on the Financial Service Committee and looking how Congress works, I think that there's way too much. People say, well, if they just could get together, they could solve the problem. And I see it differently. I see that there's too much cooperation by the leadership on both parties, although that you never hear about it, because right now they're working strongly behind scenes to make sure sequestration doesn't go into effect. Those people who pushed it through last year to raise the debt limit, now the Democrats and Republican leaders are just really, really determined not to cut a nickel out of the military and actually increase it. So there is no determination to cut. I think he's probably very sincere, and there are a lot of sincere people there.
Now, his discontent with Congress is probably well-founded. However, it would seem that in light of what he's about to say, that unfortunately he's actually fighting fire with. They're actually using him for their ends. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen to what he says about Bernanke here.
But the momentum is so great that the spending will continue and the exponential growth of debt will continue, and then there will be a day of reckoning, and the debt will have to be liquidated. And Bernanke is working very, very hard to liquidate debt through the inflationary process.
All right, you just heard Ron Paul speak favorably of his arch-enemy, Ben Bernanke, saying that Bernanke is working very hard to liquidate the debt. In other words, get rid of the debt through the inflationary process. Now, he maintains his overall position that this inflationary process is overrated, that it doesn't work. But the way he actually says Bernanke is trying very, very hard to liquidate the debt, get rid of the debt through the inflationary process, tells me he is not speaking under his own will right now.
And Bernanke is working very, very hard to liquidate debt through the inflationary process. And quite frankly, there's a lot more inflation out there than our recent statistic indicated. And people are getting poorer. They don't have enough money, and prices are going up. So the liquidation of debt is ongoing. But one of these days, it'll get much more severe, and everybody will know about it.
Okay, now this is the big one. He's about to be asked about what is the projection of the U.S. dollar.
Just a quick question for you. It sounds like you would expect U.S. Treasury debt to be downgraded again then sometime next year if you're not hopeful for spending cuts ahead.
Yeah, whether somebody announced the official downgrading or not, I know that has a lot of significance on Wall Street, but sure, it's going to be downgraded, and it probably should be downgraded now, and more so than it will be downgraded. The market will dictate the value of the currency. Right now, we're certainly benefiting tremendously by other parts of the world, especially Europe and the euro, being so much worse than our economy and our debt.
Okay, so here he is inadvertently providing the projection that the value will increase in value, at least temporarily. Now he's going to ramble on about how this is ultimately not going to work, and then he's going to catch his tongue because he's realizing that all of a sudden he's devaluing the dollar by saying that. And so now he's going to speak favorably of the Federal Reserve.
But there will be more downgrades. There will be official, and they'll pretend that they're taking care of it. But until the American people decide that we really have to cut spending, and that's the big argument in Greece, is there going to be austerity, or is there going to be bailout? I don't think there will be austerity over there, nor here. There will always be bailouts, and there will always be the creation of money and credit, because our Federal Reserve, because we still have a dollar that people will accept, our Federal Reserve stands ready to use currency swaps. They've been involved before, and they'll be involved again, and they've assured the world that they will be there if needed.
Right.
All right, could it be more blatant that this man has in fact been compromised? I mean, he just spoke favorably of Ben Bernanke, his literal he spoke favorably of Ben Bernanke's autonomy, not being in check with Congress. And then secondly, he just backed up the Federal Reserve. Okay, now he's sticking to his guns. He's in order to maintain the illusion that he hasn't been compromised, that overall this is not going to work. But as you can see, he's very plainly trying to bolster the competition aspect of this, wherein he's thinking like, okay, the regardless of the fact whether it won't work in the long run, that's just my crazy theory, that really it's going to work in a competitive way. The dollar is going to outcompete the euro. So there's actually this message that he may be sort of inadvertently giving, which is very pro-dollar. So
our Federal Reserve, because we still have a dollar that people will accept, our Federal Reserve stands ready to use currency swaps. They've been involved before, and they'll be involved again, and they've assured the world that they will be there if needed. Right.